Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 367 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am not joined by James Cush this week. James has some family stuff going on, so it is a solo podcast this week, which means you're stuck with me all night. Taking some risks today as I record. The family is gone. My wife's at a meeting, and because James isn't on, I'm recording a little early, and that means that I shouldn't be interrupted here at the house. So instead of having the studio all closed up, there's no air conditioning in this room, and it's plenty warm out. Not as bad as it's been, but it's still pretty warm. And you can probably hear my fan in the background. But instead of suffering through the heat like I normally do, when I'm not sure if people are coming home, I've got the doors wide open to the air-conditioned house. So it's cooler in here, hopefully, but that means the dog's in here as well. So I've got a pug. I don't know if I've ever said that on the podcast. I know I've mentioned the dog before, but he's sitting in the window right now watching outside, which means as soon as anybody walks by, he's probably going to bark. So who knows how many times I'll have to stop this podcast tonight to get him to quiet down. Hopefully we don't have any barking incidents. Without James here, though, a little less discussion probably tonight, so hopefully things go a little bit quicker than normal. So maybe you get a little bit shorter podcast. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. Plenty to talk about this week, though. The EchoPark Speedway kicks things off with the new name. James would say it's still Atlanta Motor Speedway, but EchoPark Speedway, lots of green out there compared to the old version. Well, I guess not quite, because this was the Quaker State 400, so usually the walls would be green. So maybe less green than normal for this race. But either way, Atlanta Motor Speedway, EchoPark Speedway, however you want to say it, the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, Quaker State 400 this weekend, and what a freaking barn burner of a race. The fact that James isn't here means that I can brag about this race and pump this race up as much as possible, because I thought this may have been one of the best, if not the best, next-gen era race that we've ever seen. I think Atlanta Motor Speedway, EchoPark Speedway, whatever you want to call it, is the best ticket in NASCAR right now. It's the best track in NASCAR. I know Kansas has put on some really good shows. I know we raved about the Michigan race a couple of weeks ago, but there is not a track that compares to this one. Now, I will say, I am biased. The name of this podcast is The Super Speedway. I named this podcast. I like Super Speedway racing. I always have. My first NASCAR race in person was 1989, so most of my life has been in the restrictor plate era, and I like that style of racing. So, and really, what I grew up with in the early 90s with restrictor plate racing at Daytona and Talladega is what Atlanta Motor Speedway seems to be right now. So I am all for it. I think this is absolutely excellent. And I could do it. I could do it all the time, man. I realize that we don't want to make every track Atlanta. We don't really need another track like this. I'm a little biased in that, man, I would love to see them put some banking into Michigan, and see what happens out there. I mean, when they had the old Texas World Speedway and they'd test out there, that banking was a little taller, a little steeper than Michigan, and they'd get quite a bit faster, and it was much more like a super speedway. So I would love to see what Michigan would do, but I don't know. I'm worried about tinkering with things and ruining good things that we have. Right now, Atlanta is absolutely perfect the way it is, and so I'm very happy with what we've got there. Chase Elliott pushes his way into victory, gets his first win of the season, locks himself into the playoffs with the right move at the right time at the end of this race. A lot of things happen in the last couple of laps of this race. First of all, we didn't get a green-white checker, which was nice. It's nice to see a race finish under green at a super speedway style track, or drafting style, whatever you want to call it. There was a big discussion on the Dale Jr. download today where Old Man Jr. Complained about the fact that we call them drafting tracks, and that Atlanta Motor Speedway or EchoPark Speedway is lumped in with Daytona and Talladega, which he complains about every time I go to Atlanta. I get it. Him and his dad have records at Daytona and Talladega. They don't want to see them broken by another track. I get it. I understand. Totally get it. But the whining about it is getting old. But anyway, A lot of things played out at the end of this race. Obviously, we had Alex Bowman up there helping his teammate and Chase Elliott get the win. Alex probably deserves the credit for the win just as much as Chase Elliott does. But a little bit more than that, we saw that the driver in second place seemed to have the advantage making runs, and it kind of took about a lap to put a pass together. And I think it was coming to 2 to go, Tyler Reddick was behind Chase, and they'd swapped the lead a couple times. And Reddick, instead of passing Chase and taking that position, I think Reddick was trying to position himself in place to have the run on the last lap. And the problem is Tyler Reddick ruined the race for himself, and he ruined the race for Brad Keselowski. I don't know if I said Chase Elliott, I apologize. Brad Keselowski, who was leading the race at the time, ruined the race for both of them, because now Brad is in the lead coming to the white flag, which is not where he wants to be because he's going to get passed. And Reddick gave up the opportunity to pass when he had it, and that was what brought Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman into the picture and allowed Chase to make that move at the end. And Chase Elliott, of course, makes the move, gets the win. Didn't come out of nowhere, though. Led 41 laps in this race. He was very aggressive, much more aggressive, I think, than we see Chase Elliott normally. Brad Keselowski really was the guy. I mean, it really looked like it was going to be a Brad Keselowski win, and he only led 46 laps to Chase Elliott's 41. So shows how strong of a race Chase Elliott had. Alex Bowman led 32 laps in this one too, which I think is kind of easily overlooked. I don't know why Alex is so easy to overlook sometimes, but great run for him. And obviously coming to the finish, both those guys could have used the win. I think Alex could have used it more than Chase, but it was one of those things of just positioning yourself to where whoever's ahead of the other one is the one that's getting the push. And they worked together really well as teammates, which was interesting because the RFK cars were working so well together as teammates up front for so long. But Chris Buescher gets shuffled out and ends up not able to help Brad at the end and finishes 9th. Brad Keselowski able to battle Alex Bowman back at the line for a second place finish. But honestly, that doesn't matter for Brad. Brad needs to get a win to get himself in the playoffs. So, but just absolutely spectacular finish just to go along with what was a nail biter of a race, spectacular race. There was no moment in this race where you sat back and could even catch your breath, except during caution flags and red flags. We did have a huge wreck that took out. I've got 23 cars. I don't know what the official number is. There's a nice long list on NASCAR's results sheet. I did not count them before we started this podcast, but obviously a huge wreck takes out a good chunk of the field, most of the competitors. That was lap 70. It was, and there's the dog barking. I told you it was coming. Anyway, it was right at the beginning of the second stage and just took out everybody. Including drivers like Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Christopher wrecked later. But Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Kyle Busch. And there were drivers that were caught up in this that still ended up running to the finish too. Kyle Larson, for example. Carson Hocevar was involved in this. It was a mess. Absolute huge wreck on the backstretch. Something, we've seen big wrecks at Atlanta, but we haven't really seen them to this scale, which is really, really interesting because the style of racing it is and how bunched up they are and how little room there is to move, how quick things happen. It's amazing we haven't had that many of these huge wrecks, but we certainly made up for it in this one with a massive one that also took everybody's in-season tournament bracket and destroyed it. We'll talk more about that coming up because James isn't here, so we can talk all we want to about the in-season bracket tonight without having to listen to him complain about the bracket and how it doesn't matter. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes too. But what an interesting race, partially as a result of the wreck. We got to see a lot of drivers up front that maybe we wouldn't. I don't know if you'd say you didn't expect them, but guys like Eric Jones, who, definitely has the capability of running well on super speedway style races. He finished 5th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. really looked like he had a car to win. Caught up in an incident, but still able to rebound and finish sixth. Zane Smith was really strong, did a lot of working with the RFK cars, finishes seventh. Ty Dillon with an 8th place finish, and he went out and beat Denny Hamlin's fans' favorite driver. As he said in the post race, we mentioned Chris Buescher, 9th place finish. Carson Hocevar, despite being involved in the wreck, finishes 10th. Connor Zilich had a great run, finished 11th. Again, BJ McLeod finished 16th. Cody Ware finished 13th in this race. It's just incredible the way things mixed up. Ty Gibbs had a strong car. He was involved in a wreck. Let's put it this way. I think they said 2 cars weren't involved in wrecks or something like that in this race. After the big wreck happened, there were only 2 cars left on the track that had won this season, and that was Shane Van Gisbergen and Kyle Larson. So we knew we were getting a new winner for the most part because Larson was wounded and Shane ended up spinning too. So yeah, it was an interesting run here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Chase Elliott locks himself in. Probably the best case scenario for anybody on the bubble in the point standings because Chase was already pretty solid on points, able to officially lock himself in, though, or I guess unofficially because technically he could still fall out, but not looking like that's going to happen as far as with a number of winners. So a lot of talk this week about old Atlanta versus new Atlanta and what we prefer. I don't think there's much of a debate here. I know the drivers really miss the old Atlanta because it was the driver's track and they really felt like they had some control, and they don't feel that way about super speedway racing. But I think it's hard to argue that Marcus Smith is brilliant in his decision to tear this place up and put some banking into it, reduce the width and make a super speedway style race out of it and really turn into, a perfect storm with this car and this track. It's the perfect scenario. And we're getting what we don't get anymore at Daytona and Talladega that we wish we had, especially with the handling playing a factor in this. Drivers having a lift, struggling to keep their cars under control a little bit more, keeps the racing a little bit more in the driver's hands than you see it at Daytona and Talladega, and less of a fuel mileage situation because handling is more important than the fuel here. So very cool to see. Dale Jr. talked about in his podcast today on the Dale Jr. download that he's still sticking to his story that he thinks that eventually the old Atlanta is going to return, that it's going to wear out enough to where we see that style of racing again. I'm sorry, I don't agree. I really thought we were going to see that, and I thought that we would start to really see this track start to level out into more of a typical 1.5 mile track, but we're just not seeing it, especially with the Cup cars. The racing style has definitely changed a lot in the Xfinity series and the Truck series. It's a little bit more strung out, still pack racing, but not double file as much as the Cup series. But I just think with this car and the way it's set, horsepower wise and handling and all that, I just think, yeah, we might. It's going to change. Don't get me wrong. We're going to lose grip here, but I don't think we're going to see this style of racing go away at Atlanta. Not for the Cup Series. I think it's here to stay, at least for a long time. We're already, a few years into this experiment, and it hasn't changed that much. I will say the warmer it is, the nuttier it is. I think this place needs to be a night race, especially in the heat of the summer. When I was there a couple years ago at the night race, it was excellent. Of course, we had rain come in just past halfway, which really, really hurt. It was already a great race, but really hurt some of the excitement that we would have seen towards the end of this thing. It was just starting to get really good. I think we would have seen a race very similar to what we saw this weekend that year. So, but I think we're going to see this for quite some time in Atlanta, and I'm here for it, man. I think the racing's excellent, and I could do it. I wish we went there. I don't really wish we went there more than twice a year, but man, it really, I mean, if you're looking for a place to go to a NASCAR race, and I've been out there, it's a nice facility. They put a little bit of extra work into it with the EchoPark sponsorship or naming rights. But it's a cool place. You can find spots in the stands. I mean, they've got the suites around the top, so you can get shade if you don't want to sit in the sun. If it's a day race, you do have to pay attention to the fact that there's pillars in the stands that hold the suites up that can be in your line of sight. So you want to watch where you're sitting because of those. But I think this is the best ticket in NASCAR, and I think people are starting to figure it out. The stands were a little bit more full than they've been, which I think is a trend across the NASCAR industry. But I think as the years go on and we continue to have spectacular races here, I'm really hoping that Atlanta gets the love it deserves from the fans in person, and people go and check out the racing there, because it's an excellent show. They do a great job out there, and it's definitely worth the ticket. And the prices weren't terrible to go. I had pretty high up seats right after the second dog leg on the front stretch, and had the pricing was reasonable. I don't remember exactly what they were now, but it was good. So a lot of fun this weekend. So another discussion that came up was, should Atlanta be the last race of the regular season? Should it replace Daytona as the last race of the regular season? I think this is the perfect track for it, to be honest. Daytona's a crapshoot, but the style of racing that we're seeing at Daytona and Talladega right now, it's just not as much in the driver's hands as Atlanta is. And I think Atlanta would be about perfect to give you that wild card aspect, to give you that craziness and the uncertainty that you don't know until the checkered flag, but still let the drivers somewhat control their destiny. I don't know what you do with Daytona then, because the city of Daytona doesn't want it back in 4th of July, despite how much fans are screaming for it to go back to 4th of July weekend. They're happy with the crowds they get for 4th of July now, and they would prefer to have another weekend during the year where they have big crowds thanks to the race. So they would prefer it not to be on the same weekend. So I don't think we're going back to 4th of July at Daytona. So I don't know where you'd put it, but I think Atlanta would be perfect, but I think Atlanta's going to be good no matter where you put it. So I don't think it needs to be in the playoffs. I think we've got the Talladega race in the playoffs. I think that's good. I don't know that Atlanta fit in there really well. I kind of like Atlanta in the regular season, but man, would it be a great way to end the regular season. So we'll see what happens. Sounds like there's a lot of stuff up in the air with the schedule for next year, or at least a lot of rumors, a lot of talk about what could be done. I'm sure NASCAR's got a pretty good idea at this point of what they're doing, but still some things to finalize and whatnot. So we'll see what happens with Atlanta. Only thing I think we're going to be sure of right now is that we're going to be going here twice a year for a while, if not forever, because the racing's too good to only come here once. So very cool to see how Atlanta's worked out. Also, our first race on on TNT after the 5 races on Prime. We had the same booth, of course, with Alan Bestwick leading the booth. I think if it wasn't coming after Prime, it would have been a really great broadcast. But following Prime is a difficult show to follow. Dale Jr. talked about a little bit on the DJD today. Part of the thing with Amazon too is they had the advantage where they were coming in with NBC guys, NBC production people, and so it wasn't like coming in brand new with new people. It was people that were already comfortable together and worked together for somewhat. So that helped the product a little bit. He said he did kind of seem to be a little critical of what they did on Sunday, and hopeful things will improve this weekend heading into Chicago. So we'll see what we get out of TNT. Again, I don't think it was a bad broadcast. I thought it was great. But when you have full screen commercials during green flag, that's a bummer, especially coming after Amazon where we didn't have any of that. And Amazon was just so good, but I give TNT credit. They had a nice long post-race show. I know I talked last week that I didn't really watch a lot of the post-race shows for the Amazon broadcast, but I did stick around for a bit on TNT and see what they did. And I thought they did a good job with it. Junior said they had some issues with their pre-race because of the weather that messed some of their plans up there. So they didn't really get to do their full-on pre-race for this one. So we'll see what they do at Chicago and see if that changes at all too. So anyway, again, good show, just tough to follow Amazon with how great that was. I think we'll be looking forward to Amazon again next year for sure. So that is EchoPark Speedway and the Quaker State 400 in the rearview mirror. Again, Chase Elliott gets the win. It is his 20th victory in 340 NASCAR Cup Series races. His first victory and 10th top 10 finish of 2025. Shane Van Gisbergen was your highest finishing rookie in this one with a 24th place finish. And William Byron leads the point standings 37 points over Chase Elliott now, who moves into second place with that win. So there's where we are at for the Cup Series, heading out of Atlanta and into Chicago this weekend. We'll come back and talk a little bit about the in-season tournament in a few minutes. But before we do that, let's pop over and take a look at the Xfinity Series. The Focus Health 250 held on Friday night at EchoPark Speedway. Nick Sanchez gets his first victory in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Great run by Nick, right place at the right time, led 18 laps in this one, able to battle for the win at the end. This one had a lot of calamity in it, a lot of cautions, a lot of issues, but no green, white checker finish, so that was cool. First victory in 25 Xfinity Series races for Nick Sanchez. I believe it's the second victory for that team. Of course, Parker Kligerman had him close a few times over the last couple of years, but Nick Sanchez gets in the win, and then I'd forgotten about it, but Tyler Reddick has won in that car previously. So Big Machine gets their second win in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with Nick Sanchez's win. I think the big story in this one, though, was the issues with Austin Hill. Had fuel pickup issues at the beginning of the race, ends up coming in and having to fix it. Finishes, 5 laps down in this one. So definitely, he was up front when the issues started. So I have to believe that he would have been very competitive in this one and had a certain opportunity to win this race if he wouldn't have had issues. Jesse Love, his teammate, had a great run despite being involved in an accident and having damage, still finishes 6th in this one. It was an interesting race, but in the end, Nick Sanchez able to hold on and get the win in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Not much else really to say about that one. Good race. Again, a lot of calamity though, and a lot more single file, difficult to pass for the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars at this track, which again, I think that's a testament to what the way the package for the Cup cars and the way this current car works versus in conjunction with the design at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think it just works out well, and I think it's providing us with that great racing that we have. So Nick Sanchez, also your highest finishing rookie in this one with his first place finish, and Justin Allgaier is your points leader, 63 points over Sam Mayer in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as they leave EchoPark Speedway. The other series in action this weekend was the Craftsman Truck Series, where at a new track out in Connecticut, Lime Rock Park. Really cool racetrack. Very cool to see racing out there. I knew about Lime Rock Park, but had not even watched video of cars going around that track. Watched some video leading into the race over the weekend and could not wait to see the hill on the backstretch. Just incredible how light the cars get going over that hill. And the trucks certainly looked like they were almost getting airtime going over it if they weren't. Unfortunately, as great of a track as it is, there was a lot of talk beforehand. Mike Joy was there, a track that he's raced at a bunch and has a ton of experience. He talked about the fact that the track was built not for racing, but to have fun. And I would imagine it's a really, really fun racetrack. Unfortunately, it did not translate to good racing. And I don't know if that was because of the track or if that was because of Corey Heim starting on the pole and leading all but one lap in this race. And that one lap has an asterisk on it if you ask Jeff Gluck, because he was leading on the restart, but he didn't get to the line first, and so doesn't get credited with that lap. Lane Riggs gets credited with 1 lap led in this race. So the perfect race that was becomes not quite so perfect with only 99 of 100 laps being led by Corey Heim. But he put on a clinic. I mean, this was like watching Shane Van Gisbergen at Mexico City. He never had a misstep all day long. And honestly, the most exciting part of this race was the last restart when half the field overdrove turn 1, but Corey Heim didn't have any issue and held on to the lead and went on to win the race. So hopefully, I mean, I'd love to see us go back here. I wonder, I mean, there's a chicane instead of the hill on the backstretch. There's another extra turn. I don't know if adding turns to the track or running some of those extra sections would help. Or again, if it was just Corey Heim just having a good day and stinking up the show in this one. So track reminds me a lot of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but just didn't race like Canadian Tire does. But certainly cool to see them out there. The fans seem to love it. They showed up in droves. As Mike Joyce said, no grandstands there, not a grandstand anywhere. Everybody brings their lawn chairs out and sits on the hills. Very cool setup there. But like I said, unfortunately, wasn't the most exciting race in the world. 16th victory in 79 Craftsman Truck Series races for Corey Heim. Just incredible what he's doing in the Truck Series. And again, it's his 5th victory of 2025. And there's at least 4 more that he could have won this year. So just absolutely incredible. Certainly a favorite for the championship. But with the format, you never know what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Gio Ruggiero was your highest finishing rookie in 3rd in the Craftsman Truck Series. So there you go. There's your 3 races of the weekend. Let's talk some news. Actually, let's do the in-season tournament first before we get into the news. So obviously some things went a little wonky. I think NASCAR was looking for some chaos with the scheduling, with having Atlanta be the first round of the in-season challenge. But I don't think they were quite anticipating exactly the chaos that they got. I did see it posted today that there are 0 perfect ballots remaining. Or perfect brackets remaining. So that is not a surprise because I think a lot of these, we weren't really expecting Ty Dillon to beat number 1 seed, 32 seed, beat number 1 seed Denny Hamlin, for example. A lot of these were just, off the charts, crazy how they turned out. We have one winner at this point now still in the bracket, which is Chase Elliott, the driver that won this week. So, so let's look at some matchups coming up this week as we have 16 drivers remaining in the in-season challenge for round 2. First one, we've got Brad Keselowski, who is a 17 seed going up against 32nd seed Ty Dillon. I think I'd be pretty confident to choose Brad, but it's also the street course in Chicago, so who knows what's going to happen there. I think that throws some wrenches into this one too. Next one, you got Alex Bowman, the 8th seed, against Bubba Wallace, a 9th seed. This one's tough because Alex, of course, won at Chicago last year, but Bubba Wallace, despite the fact that he's kind of remembered as a bad road course driver, has really, really improved on road courses. So I don't think this one's as cut and dried as it would seem to be with Alex Bowman getting the win here. But I would lean towards Alex on this one. Next one, you got Chase Elliott, the 5th seed, going up against John Hunter Nemechek, the 12th seed. I think Chase has probably got this one in the bag unless he has trouble. Definitely, a good road course racer. I don't know that he's been spectacular at Chicago, but I think he'll get John Hunter. But John Hunter is sneaky good too. So really interesting one in the next one. Eric Jones, a 20 seed, up against the 29 seed of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I don't know, man. This one's tough. Ricky's tough. But Eric Jones has been running really well lately too. So I give the edge to Eric Jones on this one, but I don't know. That one's tough. Next up, you got Ryan Preece, who's the 15 seed against Noah Gragson and 31st seed. Ryan Preece has been great all season. I think he's the easy pick in this one. Certainly expect to see Ryan Preece move on. Another challenging one, you've got Carson Hocevar and Tyler Reddick. So Tyler Reddick's a 23 seed, Carson Hocevar the 26 seed. But again, Tyler Reddick's good on road courses, and I don't know. I'm not giving the edge to Carson on that one. I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick on that one. Really probably the best matchup this weekend is Ty Gibbs, the 6 seed, versus the 22 seed of AJ Allmendinger. Obviously AJ road course ringer, but Ty Gibbs is really good on road courses as well. Of course, he won his first Xfinity Series race at Daytona on the road course. I think one unfair thing is we lump Chicago in as a road course, and it's not. So if you look at series like IndyCar that races on a lot of road courses and street courses, or Formula One, there is a road course and there is a street course, and they are two different things. They're two different categories. It's just like we have super speedways and intermediate tracks. They're two different categories, and I don't think you can lump them both in together. The fact we only run one street course makes it lump in with the road courses a little bit. And obviously it's more similar to those than anything else, but I think it's in its own category. So I don't know that I want to give this one to AJ, because I don't think AJ's been that great at Chicago. So I'll go with Ty Gibbs on this one. And so I guess I'm going with the high seeds on all these, because the final matchup is Chris Buescher and Zane Smith, and got to go Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher has been great on road courses. So those are my picks for the in-season challenge as we head into the next round at Chicago, and then off to Sonoma after that. So we'll see how things shake out this weekend with the in-season challenge. I got some news today that Daniel Suarez and Trackhouse made it official. So Suarez was on the Dale Jr. download last week, and certainly hinted that things were not quite where he wanted them at Trackhouse, and kind of really led us to believe that that he probably wasn't going to be back. Well, the announcement was made today by Suarez and Trackhouse. Daniel Suarez's statement: Trackhouse and I have mutually agreed to part ways at the end of the 2025 season. Had some of the best years of my Cup Series career at Trackhouse. We had great success as a team, and I gained incredible friends. We took a team nobody had even heard of in 2021, and in just a couple of years, we were winning races and running up front on a weekly basis. Just like the seasons in a year, sometimes things change, and we have agreed to go in our own direction. I wish Trackhouse nothing but the best. This 99 team will always be special to me, and like I always say, the best is ahead. So Daniel Suarez moving on. Be interesting to see where he lands next season. Be interesting to see if he remains in the Cup Series next season. I don't know really where there's opportunities to go. I don't know that there's a ton of open opportunities here, but I think the writing is pretty much on the wall as to who's going to fill that seat at Trackhouse. It's certainly earmarked for Connor Zilisch. We've been talking all along about how Connor Zilisch is going to fit in there, and I think that's where we're going to see him, is in that car. The question just becomes whether it's the 99 or the 87. So we'll see what happens there. But Daniel Suarez moving on to something different next season. We'll see where he lands. So also got news this past week that Ware Racing has sold. I am not going to, it's TJ. I don't know how to say the last name. Anyway, agrees to buy Ware Racing, plans to build a 3-car NASCAR team. TJ he was launched a Spire team back in 2018 with Jeff Dickerson. They took over the charter that Furniture Row Racing could not sell. So he and Ware Racing have a deal for him to take over Ware's organization next season. Again, he said plans to run a 3-car team. Currently only one charter, because there's an agreement to sell the other one, or the one is leased by RFK. And then there's the legal battle over the other one with Legacy. So we'll see how everything shakes out here. But anyway, Rick Ware was selling the team and on to other things apparently as we get an ownership change there with Rick Ware Racing. And then some sad news to close things out of our news section. We received word this week that Larry McClure, former team owner, owned the number 4 car in the Cup Series. Drivers such as Rick Wilson, Ernie Irvin, Sterling Marlin all drove for him, among others. Larry McClure passed away earlier this week, or last week, I guess. So sad news there. Obviously, a major part of motorsports and of NASCAR. Huge part of the history of our sport. A lot of stories about how everything went down with Ernie Irvin there. He ran 703 Cup Series races, and the team won 14 times. Biggest wins include 3 Daytona 500 victories and a win at the Bristol Night Race in 1991. Of course, he won the Daytona 500 with Ernie Irvin and twice with Sterling Marlin. So anyway, major part of history in the sport. Sad to see another, long time NASCAR personality pass away. There are some great interviews with, I believe it's the Scene podcast. There was a lot of talk with Larry a while back, so some good episodes there if you want to check them out. But definitely sad to see Larry pass away. We talked about the in-season tournament. Let's talk checkered flags and black flags this week. I did not get any from James, so I'll run through mine here real quick. Checkered flags, I wanted to give a quick shout-out / checkered flag to my local track, Tri-City Motor Speedway. Got a chance to go over there Friday night. The Great Lakes Super Sprints were in action out there. It's my first time out there this season. First time out there since the new owners took over at the track, and just thought they did a great job. Really nice crowd of people out there to watch some great racing. The track was absolutely beautiful despite having, it's a dirt track for those of you who aren't aware. Rain came through a few hours before the race. Talking to some of the people there, they were not sure if they were going to be able to get it in shape to run, but they certainly did put their best effort in and had a beautiful racing surface. Even with the sprint cars running a 30-lap feature, the track was beautiful even afterwards. So absolutely great job. Nice job of the new owners, definitely trying to bring things back to what they used to be out at Tri-City Motor Speedway. So good to see some success out there. Hopefully they continue to have good turnouts and get the people back in the stands out there and show them that new things are happening and it's worth checking out again. So good to see. Track's right down the road from me. I only live about 10 minutes away. So certainly when the wing sprint cars are in town, got to go check it out. So really, really nice night out there. Black flags this week. I'm going to give a black flag, and I don't know who the black flag is for, if it's Ryan Blaney or if it's Penske, but apparently Ryan Blaney is struggling for money or something, because I listened to the teardown after the Atlanta race, and Jordan Bianchi's talking about how Blaney is asking for a discount or half price off a subscription to The Athletic, because I don't know, because he doesn't have a subscription to The Athletic and can't read what Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi write. And I'm like, already, it's like, come on, dude, it's not, The Athletic's not that expensive. And if you like the New York Times, you get the New York Times subscription, you can lump it all in, which is what I've done. But either way, it's not that bad. And then he's on Door Bumper Clear today, and he's trying to weasel a discount code for Flow Racing out of Freddie Kraft. And I'm like, dude, you have no money? Like, what are you spending your money on that you're a champion? You're a NASCAR champion, and you're out here scrounging for discount codes for streaming services and news sites. Like, come on, Blaney. So I don't know if Penske's not paying him enough, or if Blaney is not keeping track of his money well, or if he's just a cheapskate, but I don't know, man. Blaney, come on, get your crap together. All right. Just pay for some stuff. You're a champion. You gotta have some money in the wallet, right? Anyway, just had to give Blaney a hard time. There you go. Heading to Chicago street course this weekend, potentially the last time. We'll see what happens. I saw an article today that there's talk of potentially going back next year, but doing it on a different weekend because the law enforcement's so stretched thin during 4th of July weekend in Chicago. Certainly the rumblings through the NASCAR industry is that we're not returning and that Chicagoland Speedway may be on the docket. Of course, Carson Hocevar last week was at Chicagoland, checking the track out, posting some video of it. I got to say, I honestly thought, I mean, it's not bad. It wouldn't take a whole lot to clean it up and get it ready for a race again. But I personally, like Hocevar was talking about how it's in pretty good shape. I thought it was in worse shape than I was expecting. I really thought they were taking better care of it than what it looks like with grass growing up in between the seams of the track and all that. Again, that stuff, I mean, look at North Wilkesboro. They can clean North Wilkesboro up. They can clean up Chicagoland and Kentucky Speedway, no problem. But certainly not in the condition that I was hoping it would be in. But it's not something you're just going to run a race there tomorrow without doing any work. You're certainly going to have to do some upkeep before they go back there. But we saw them bring back Nashville Superspeedway from 10 years vacant to run a cup race there. So they can do it. I wouldn't be surprised. So we'll see what happens. Obviously the San Diego rumor is pretty strong. Do we want to run 2 street races in a season? If we go to San Diego, does that knock Chicago off completely? We'll have to see. Certainly see how things go this weekend. I will say that we have rain in the forecast again for Sunday. Saturday looks pretty good, but Sunday is a 40% chance of rain last I checked. Of course, it's Chicago, which is very similar to Michigan. You have no idea what it's actually going to be until the day arrives. The first year there, it wasn't supposed to rain at all, and look what happened. Chicago about floated away. So we'll see what happens. But all Cup Series and Xfinity Series in action this weekend at Chicago. The Cup Series has the Grant Park 165 Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That'll be on TNT, of course. And then the NASCAR Xfinity Series is in action Saturday. The Loop 110 Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the CW. The Craftsman Truck Series is off this weekend. So no Craftsman Truck Series racing. Picks on the weekend. I'm going to go real easy, and I'm going to pick SVG to repeat at Chicago. Of course, last year he didn't get the win after winning his first race there 2 years ago, but last year was certainly one of the 2 best cars until him and Larson had issues, and SVG ended up in the wall and with the broken toe link, and that ended his chance at going back to back here. But I still think that SVG has a strong enough advantage here versus the rest of the field that he's going to be pretty tough to beat when we head into Chicago, especially if we get any rain, which again, it's in the forecast. So we'll see what happens there, but I definitely going with SVG this weekend. I did reach out to James beforehand, told him if he didn't send me his pick, that I was going to pick Cody Ware for him this weekend. Fortunately for James, he did submit his pick, and he is going with Cinnamon Toast Chris Buescher with the Cinnamon Toast scheme this weekend at Atlanta. It was a great scheme, by the way. But Chris Buescher is the pick for James at Atlanta or at Chicago. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I know there's a lot of people that have different feelings about the street race. Again, I don't like the street race because we don't race at Chicagoland. It has nothing to do with the street race. I really do like the street race. I think the track in Chicago has proven to be, despite looking like it's not that exciting, it's proven to be a really good race. We haven't seen a fully dry race there yet, so we'll see how it races in the dry if we get that opportunity. But certainly when it's wet, it races good and it's fun. So I'm looking forward to Chicago this weekend. Can't wait to sit down and watch it. Fantasy. Let's talk Fantasy League this week at Atlanta. This week was a disaster. Fortunately, everybody struggled. But I mean, our winner, Green Eggs and Hamlin, gets first with 175 points. Smoking Grill with 172. Only the top 7 had over 100. I finished 11th, second to last with 6. Well, no, I was tied for last with Hendrick Flair with 64 points. Just a freaking disaster. It frustrates me so much how much effort I put into making sure that I can change my bench driver at the end of before the end of stage 2 for me to do as poorly as I do on this stupid fantasy every week. It's so frustrating. Team James gets 6th with 119 on this one. Overall, looking at things, Smoking Girl Racing still our leader, 3461 over James at 3352. Green Eggs and Hamlin, Barron Speedway, and three-time champ. Round out your top 5. I'm hanging out back in 8th still here in the old fantasy league. So, I hate this stupid thing. But we appreciate everybody participating. And I mean, honestly, it's the best way for us to interact with you guys. So we appreciate it. That's why we do it. It's certainly not because it's fun. So with that, we head to Chicago Speedway this weekend. Hey, 45-minute podcast, you guys. What you gotta like that, right? I hope we didn't screw up anybody's drive this weekend or this week with being a little short. I mean, we're about 45 minutes short from what we normally are. It's that James, man. He doesn't stop talking. He just yaps and yaps. Anyway, just kidding, James. Hopefully everything's all good for you. Hopefully James will be back next week and we can return to normal. You guys won't have to listen to me bumble on for 45 minutes again. So anyway, Chicago Speedway this weekend. If you want to reach out during the week, you can hit James up on X and on Instagram at James Cush. You can find me at T Super Speedway on X. Facebook, our podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find some race coverage there from Michigan, along with show notes. All that stuff is on there. Links to different episodes of the podcast. And the podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio. Wherever you find us today, please subscribe and continue to listen for new episodes each and every week. NASCAR Xfinity Series and NASCAR Cup Series in action this weekend at Chicago, on the streets of Chicago. Rain in the forecast for Sunday. We'll see how that all shakes out. We'll be back next week to break it all down. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.